Yo Brollies, what's up? In today's video, we're back at it again with mechanical keyboards, and this time we're taking a look at the Mojo68 wireless mechanical keyboard from MelGeek.com. The Mojo68 has been out for a while now, but is still one of the most unique pre-built mechanical keyboards out in the market, with an interesting gasket mount design that doesn't conform to the typical flex characteristic of a gasket mount keyboard, which may be good or bad depending on one's personal preference. The Mojo68 also features south-facing hot swappable PCB and can be connected to up to a whopping 8 devices with its tri-mode connectivity options. And did I mention that it also features a very unique design and form factor? Well, let's see everything it has to offer. So let's get into it. The Mojo68 is a $229 keyboard, so it's definitely not a budget keyboard, and it shows on its very well made packaging with an outer sleeve. At the back of the box, we have some of its specifications written in both English and Chinese. Upon opening the box, you'll see the Mojo68 keyboard itself with a nice pull tab on its protective cover. Underneath that, we have the user manual, also written in English and Chinese. We also have an accessory box that houses the wire keycap puller, the USB Type-C cable with a right-angled Type-C plug, and the 2.4 GHz wireless USB dongle. At first look and touch, what we have here is the plastic see-through variant, which the case perfectly matches the plastic theme keycap set. It also has some additional protective plastic around, which is a nice touch. For a compact keyboard made mostly out of plastic, it has some decent weight to it, and does flex a bit if you put enough pressure. Now, in terms of the layout, this keyboard features a 65% form factor with 68 keys, including some of the nav cluster keys on the right side and dedicated arrow keys. Flipping it on the front side, we have a rather large clear text and a Mojo68 branding on the left side. You can also see a preview of the gaskets and the white aluminum plate. Flipping it on the left side, the casing features a slanted shape for that ergonomic form factor without the need for a flip-out stand. You can also see here the poron dampener sandwiched between the plate and the PCB. The keycap's profile is MDA, which we'll talk more about later. Flipping it on the back side, we have a huge plastic text and the Buger X MelGeek collaboration text beside it. We also have the USB Type-C port and the connectivity switch here on the right side. Now, turning it all over at the bottom, we have 4 small rubber feet and some interesting design language here, including the dimensions of this keyboard. Now, going back in front, this keyboard weighs roughly around 837 grams, which is decent enough for a plastic keyboard. Overall, in terms of design and construction, it is definitely one of the most unique looking keyboards out in the market, especially with the glossy casing, which is fairly different from most clear cases with a matte or textured finish. The keycap set is also unique, albeit a bit busy in terms of its legends and sub-legends, but for the most part, the quality of the print seems to be pretty decent. The keycaps are made out of durable PBT plastic with dye-sublimated legends. This means that the legends are now part of the plastic and will never fade away. It also features the MDA profile, which is relatively short in terms of height, while also featuring a sculpted shape. As an old fan of the SA profile, I kinda like this actually. It offers a perfect balance in terms of comfortable height, sleek sculpted profile, and substantial typing surface. This sculpt doesn't get in the way of the typing experience, while still looking really sexy. The thickness of this keycap is around 1.2mm, which is good enough for a single shot keycap. Now, in terms of the switches, what we have here is the Gateron Pro Brown variant, which is the improved version of the classic Gateron Brown with an optimized mold and tighter tolerances, better palm material for the stem, and most importantly, already pre-lubed from the factory. This is a good decision given the fact that this keyboard is a pre-built one. In addition, the stabilizers are also pre-lubed with a substantial amount of lubricant. So it's safe to say that they really made a conscious effort to make this keyboard as good as possible right out of the box, while still offering some sort of flexibility, making the board hot swappable. Speaking of hot swappable, another good thing about this keyboard is that it features south-facing hot swap sockets, making it universally compatible with pretty much any keycap profile. Another thing that I really like about this keyboard is that it features tri-mode connectivity with Bluetooth 5.2, wired, and 2.4 GHz wireless options. We also have a nifty but subtle LED indicator here in the lower left corner. So blue for Bluetooth, green for the 2.4 GHz wireless, and white for wired connectivity. The center is for the battery and the top indicator is for the caps lock. What surprised me the most about its connectivity feature is the fact that you can connect this up to 8 devices, while most Bluetooth keyboards can only connect up to 3 to 4, so that's definitely a plus. Although I'm not sure why you would need such an absurd amount of devices, but you have this as an option if necessary. Now, in terms of layer implementation, since this is a compact 65% keyboard, you can toggle other layers by pressing Fn in combination with the corresponding layers like the function keys up top, Z, X, and C for the lighting effects. So Z for turning on and off the backlight, X for changing modes, and C for changing colors. You can also press Fn plus some of the keys here on the right side to toggle the nav cluster keys such as print screen, delete, home, and others. You can also press Fn plus the arrow keys for some media controls. Now, although this keyboard is already good out of the box and doesn't really need to be taken apart, let's go ahead and open this so that you can have a better understanding of its construction, especially how they implemented the quite unique gasket mount design. I won't recommend anyone doing this because first, it's really not necessary, and second, it is also fairly difficult to tear apart by prying the brittle plastic clips around. Thankfully, I was able to manage without damaging any of the clips. Now, once a substantial amount of clips have been dislodged, you can simply lift the top housing like so and get access to the rest of the internals. Now, gently lift up the plate and PCB combo because the battery is still attached underneath, as you can see here. Now, let's take a look at the mounting design of this keyboard. Here at the bottom case, we have a rather large and dense silicone dampener, which is probably where most of its weight comes from. We also have some silicone dampener at its four corners, which we'll discuss more about its purpose in a minute. I'd say I really like the silicone dampener for the bottom casing. Not only it does make the bottom of the keyboard relatively clean, but it also does its job of eliminating the potential hollow sound of the bottom case. Now, in terms of the battery, we have a 4000 mAh of battery, which depending on the mode you're using, should last you up to 240 hours. Now, the hot swap sockets on this keyboard are aptly made by Gateron. As you can see here, the pore dampener between the plate and PCB is actually the one that is getting in contact with the bottom case and not the aluminum plate. We also have a couple of silicone dampeners here on the top of the aluminum plate that, when partnered with the silicone dampener on the top cover and the silicone dampener on all four corners, completely eliminates the aluminum to plastic contact, making up for an isolated and perfectly dampened sound signature. What's different about this gasket mount design is that, unlike most gasket mount keyboards, this keyboard doesn't flex much since the gasket mount is on the top cover rather than at the bottom or middle. This means that although it is a gasket mount keyboard, the overall typing feel is still pretty stiff. Essentially, the gaskets are more for sound and contact isolation. Now, in terms of performance, NKRO works perfectly fine on this keyboard in any mode, including Bluetooth. You can essentially press as many keys as you want at the same time without conflicts. In terms of the software, we have the KB tools, wherein you can customize the keys to a different function like other keys and shortcuts. We also have up to 4 different layers here. Under the color tab, you can customize the colors and modes, and under the shortcuts, you can customize the available presets to tailor to your own preference. Of course, we have the macro recordings and the general settings where you can set the sleep time and polling rate as well as update the firmware. Sometimes this software is a bit buggy and crashes from time to time, but when it works, it is quite useful. By the way, huge thanks to CableMod for providing a perfectly matching custom cable for this keyboard. You can get this using the link below, and you can also use the code KIB20 for an extra discount. Now, in terms of the illumination, to be honest, it's not as bright as I was hoping, but should be enough in most dim environments. And lastly, before we end this review, here's a quick sound test for you guys. So to conclude, while the Mojo68 is a bit expensive for a plastic pre-built keyboard, especially if you compare it with other 65% keyboards like the Ramakara, EK68, KBD67 Lite, and other similar keyboards, it offers some unique and interesting characteristics that could tailor to some people, especially those who want something that is already good out of the box. The design and construction are really good for a plastic pre-built keyboard, and the gasket mounting it offers is something that you won't typically find on other keyboards. Aside from that, it also checks pretty much all my boxes like tri-mode connectivity, south-facing hot swap sockets, pre-lube switches and stabilizers, and a pretty good set of keycaps out of the box. But does the features justify its price? Well, only you can answer that depending on how much those features means to you. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Huge thanks to MelGeek.com for sending this in. You can get this using the link below. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.